Hi there, this video is a bit different to any of the videos I've done before. I find myself with over 400 subscribers and there was no real desire or intent or anything to get here. And I'm also aware that I'm just doing everything wrong, kind of deliberately. If you watch I watched a thing by Sabine. Hang on, I need to find out what her name is. Yeah, I watched a video by Sabine Hossenfelder yesterday, and she was talking about how she got to 1 million subscribers, and I'm kind of almost willingly breaking every rule of the algorithm. So I've been thinking about doing some different videos yet again. So I'm not sure why people have subscribed. My most viewed video is approaching now 33,000 views, is doing some work on a flooding secondaries on a Holly 4-barrel carburetor, which I was having trouble with it, so I filmed it and put it up because I'd been helped a lot by people putting other videos up that I followed. So I thought, well, I'll chuck mine up and see if anyone is finds it helpful. The first videos I put up, I was installing a digital readout on a little milling machine I've got, and I didn't have any interest in learning to edit or whatever, so I just took some videos one after the other and put them in a playlist, and I've got, I don't know, there was about 20 videos or something, where I was just figuring out how to put it together and get it installed and working, and I did that primarily to get to record what I'd done, so that if there was a problem later on, I'd remember what I could refer back to it. But I also figured, well, if someone else is trying to put a video, trying to put a digital readout on one of these mills, they might find that handy too. I'm aware that I've got videos on everything from Holly carburetors and trying to get my Buick to run cool, and then I collaborated with Dale. I got a number of subscribers came on when I did some stuff about computer programming. Got something on, checking out an electric chainsaw versus a petrol one. I'm trying to remember, but I've got quite an eclectic set of videos. Currently working with my daughter on a 4-poster bed. We fixed up her Mixmaster bass when it got broken together. We've made a pot rack with her, got her to do a little bit of welding. And I only post when I post. There's no kind of routine, got to do it every week at the same time or 3 times a week, and they're as long as they are and they're as short as they are. So I now find myself thinking about putting on yet another tangent before adding another sort of diversion to the channel. I'd be curious to hear or find out a little bit about why whoever you are that happens to be watching this video chose to watch it or subscribe, just because I'm curious. I didn't ever set out to have any subscribers particularly. I just thought I'd put videos up in case people found them helpful. I'd be interested if people just commented on why they subscribed if you have, and what your interest has been. I noticed that there's a real obvious pattern. I post a video and typically I lose 1 or 2 subscribers immediately, and then the longer I leave it, the more it builds over time, and then I post another video and I lose another couple of subscribers. And I understand why. You know, you've subscribed to me for some reason or another. You watch one video on the Buick or something on astronomy that I've done or whatever, and then now I'm posting another video and it's got nothing to do with what you subscribed. So, and you see the topic and you go, well, I'm not interested in that. So I can understand. I guess I do the same too. But I'm kind of interested in, I've got some things I've been thinking about for a long time, or for not such a long time. And I find I talk to people about these things quite a bit, quite regularly. And maybe it'd be good to have, to record some of them, maybe in the same spirit of how I've done everything else, like just record, you know, how I might build a shroud for the radiator for the Buick. Just record from, I don't know, for posterity, or I don't know, for something. These ideas that I'm thinking about, it might be interesting to refer back to some of the ways I'm thinking now in 10 years' time, if I'm still able to do so. And if people find them interesting, then that's great. So I was toying with the idea of 2 channels, because I've got such a diverse set of videos up. But I'm disinclined to do that, partly because I'm not specifically looking for subscribers. It's not the point really. And I'm kind of, I don't know, I certainly don't have any great grand desire to build this channel up to 1 million subscribers, or even 100,000 or 10,000 for that matter. What happens, and if people find something that they find interesting, or maybe pick up an idea or 2 from what I'm doing, you know, as I'm learning to weld by fixing up an old ratty set of drawers, maybe my recording the process might help someone else who's trying to learn to weld. And in the same spirit, if I'm thinking about something and I find it interesting, maybe I record it and maybe someone else might. But as I said, I'd be very interested to just have people comment, and if you let me know what the topic was that made you push the subscribe button, and are you on the point of going, well, now this one's just the one too far, I'm off? And if you were, that'd be interesting too. I'm also aware, it's funny, you only see yourself from inside normally, and in the process of recording all these videos and posting them, I've got 103 up now, and you watch yourself back when you're editing, you become more aware of how you might be to someone else. And I'm very aware that I'm a bit of a rambler in my thinking, and I go off on a tangent, and I've been editing harder. I'll be working on something, and then I mention something to the camera, and then I go, oh yeah, well there's this other thing over here, and then that leads to that. And I've been editing a lot of that stuff out to try and condense it down a little bit. But I'd be interested to see, it'd be an interesting exercise for me to just try and distill some ideas that I've thought a lot about down into a short form, and something that just pulls out the essence of maybe what is a fairly daunting and unapproachable topic, like, you know, I'm thinking about doing things on Socrates and Descartes and Immanuel Kant, David Hume, Wittgenstein, Hegel. These are all people I've spent a lot of time reading and thinking about what they've said. Just up here, I've got a reasonable collection of stuff that I collected over the years. And maybe a tiny bit of background about me. I grew up in a small town, country town in Australia. We were on the edge of town, and I used to be running around outside all the time as a kid. But I was also always, from as early as Mum remembers, I was able to speak. I was sort of, well, why is this and why is that? And I'd say to Dad, what can I make out of these? And I'd have 2 sticks and an elastic band. And I became interested in, built my first electromagnet when I was in infant school, like I was about 6 or something, because I read about it in the library. But at the same time, I had a pretty bad time at school. I had some teachers that weren't ideal for me, and I guess I wasn't ideal for them. I endured school, but I was always more interested in learning outside of school than I was in school. And as a 10-year-old, I was pulling my push bike apart, and by 13 I had a motorbike, and I was keeping that on the road. There was always something going on there with stacking the bike and then trying to get the brakes to work or something. And I've started playing. I've got my flugelhorn just here. I started playing trumpet, or soprano cornet actually, when I was 8 in the Narrowtown band, and I've played in bands ever since. I've been in a band, the Eros, Elderly Rockers and Old Swingers, big band, for about 23, 24 years now. Played in the Wollongong Conservatorium, big band. I did some external studies at the Sydney Conservatorium, just one night a week. I had private lessons off some very great trumpeters through the years, and a very, very good teacher, Jack Grumley, when I was 8, and he taught me through till I was 16. So as a result of my interest in music and in general things in general, I started doing some sound engineering when I was live mixing for music and stuff. When I was 13 or 14, I started, and I still do a bit of that today. And that led to, if you're doing that, you need to be able to solder a lead. And I've just always been interested in things. I left school at 16, got a job as an apprentice at the Steelworks in Port Kembla as a fitter machinist, and I did that. Ended up working for most of my time in the trade as a machinist, and worked everything from tool making, tiny little, working to 0.2 of a thousandth of an inch. It was inches back then in Australia. Well, no, the guy that ran the place insisted it was in inches. Tiny little lathe, and I quit that job, and the next day, or next work day, I went into this place, and the chuck key for the chuck I started working on day one, or the chuck key for the lathe that I worked on day one, was bigger than the lathe than I'd been working for a year before that. And I worked on large ships, on pulling pistons out of the main engine to clean them up and swap them from one cylinder to another. And I did general machining for a number of years. And But all the time I was sort of obsessed with philosophy or music, and then I bought a computer when I was 33, and I got a bit obsessed with how they worked, and started teaching myself programming, and started doing a bit of programming for the machine shop I was working at with CNC machines. And then I became interested in philosophy when I was probably 19 or 20. I had a burning question about, I grew up in a Christian family, and the preaching that I heard basically said that there's heaven and hell, and if you get it right and you believe the right stuff, then you go to heaven for eternity, and if you get the wrong stuff, you go to hell for eternity. And that, I lost a lot of sleep, literally a lot of nights of sleep as a kid, well, from 10 maybe years old up. And I kind of decided that what you need to know, what was important was to know how to find truth. And so I began a bit of a pursuit of figuring that out. And I think I spent over 20 years kind of on that project, and I still have an interest in it. And at maybe 40 or 45 years old, I kind of came to a point where I thought, okay, I've got a bit of a reasonable idea of how you might go about forming a belief that you could justify rather than knowledge. But I could see that most people didn't do what I did, so I was then spent a fair bit of time. Well, I'd always been interested. I've got a book up there on the brain, a textbook that I got when I was in my early 20s or something, just because it's interesting. How does the brain work and what's the physiology of it? But I sort of started reading psychology because I was interested in how people actually form beliefs and modify them. And I'm still quite interested in that. But along the way, after about 20 years as a machinist, but also doing these things on the side, I enrolled in a computer science degree. I enrolled because it was cheaper to do the subjects as an enrolled student than as an external student. I was just interested in picking out the best of to learn there were things I just couldn't do. As a computer programmer, there were things that I just couldn't figure out. And as a philosopher, there was a whole lot of stuff that I just couldn't really run past anyone because I didn't know anyone that had the knowledge I was interested in. So I enrolled in computer science because you could do that and then do philosophy, but you couldn't enroll in philosophy and do computer science. So I did maybe 3 or 4 computer science subjects, and I did effectively one subject off a major in philosophy, but I ended up with 72 credit points out of 144 for a degree, so exactly half. And by that time, a curious circumstance through a friend who I was working as a machinist, but the place I was at, it was really, really difficult, and I was going to have to leave. It was a toxic workplace, and I happened to mention to a friend that I was going to have to quit, and her husband he was an academic at the university, and they just happened to be looking for a research assistant, and they wanted someone with some computer knowledge and ability to drill some holes and make gear. So one thing led to another, and I ended up in a research group in atmospheric chemistry, and I ended up being there for over 20 years. And we built in-house an instrument, we designed it, I wrote the code that it ended up running in China and Germany and New Zealand and America and England. And I wrote the code that ran it. It's been commercialised and the code's been rewritten. as is appropriate. But, you know, that instrument's available. If you look up Spectronus on the Ecotech website, that's the instrument that I was heavily involved in developing. But also there was a lot of other stuff along the way. And finally my luck ran out after over 20 years and grants didn't come through, and I was on grant money the whole time. And now I'm working at a government research organisation, and I'm working with radon detectors, and actually tomorrow I'll be going up onto a ship to try and get an instrument that's not running on there. I'll be going with a couple of other guys, and we've got an instrument on there that's not running, so that'll be trying to fault find there. But that was a completely unexpected sideways step, and I still don't have a degree, but I've worked with a lot of students, PhD, honours, masters, and some undergrads. Mostly it was honours and postgrads. Trying to help them with their projects and figure out how to do things that hadn't been done before. So that was a very interesting thing, and it ended up using my computer programming and electronics and mechanical knowledge, and I think even my philosophy helps in terms of thinking through problems and learning how to fault find. So I find myself here at 60, a little bit more time on my hands. I've dropped back to 3 days a week, and I might be posting a bit more on the YouTube channel because I'll have more time to do things. So anyway, that's basically an introduction to where I've come from. But I'd be interested to hear if people are interested in putting in the comments, you know, what they find interesting, what they do, and why they might bother to watch one of my videos. I will be trying with the stuff on philosophy. I'm going to use it as a kind of an exercise in being less rambling, and try to put together a more concise sort of presentation of things. So it's as much for me an exercise in trying to work out how to be more concise and stay on topic, and distill things out. So I find myself now just interested to hear, you know, if anyone out is out there and interested in, let me know why they chose to watch one of my videos, and then push the subscribe button. I just find it interesting to see who's out there and how long they're out there for. And when I post this, I might lose 2/3 of my subscribers, but then that's okay, because I'm not, as I said, I'm not doing this to get subscribers, and I'm not doing this to try and build a reputation or anything. I just find it interesting to post things, and I'm finding it interesting to go back and look at things I put up a few years ago, and to remind myself of what I did and why I did it. And yeah, it'd be quite interesting to put down some of the thoughts that I have at the moment, and then it gives me the capacity to look back in 10 years and go, oh, okay, I don't know that I believe that anymore, or, oh yeah, I was still stuck with that one. So anyway, I guess that's about it. So we'll see where this goes. Okay, bye.